Okay, I think we're live. Let me see. Yes, we are live. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a long time. I'm very happy that we finally are reunited. Jack is the man that, made all this happen, that I'm now a fully converted cosmonaut since 2 years. It's fucking crazy if you think about it. But yeah, Jack, it's always an honor to have you on. We have a cool agenda today. We're going to talk a little bit about the Cosmos reorganization, the Cosmos structuring, what companies need to be involved. There's been a lot of stuff recently. Then the Cosmos Hub, interchain security, Noble, Neutron, right? The game for Atom. Let's see. And then also we have obviously Strangelove, which is what you are the co-founder of. And that's exciting. What else do we have? Oh, Sommelier.
Oh, can't forget SOMM. Real yield USD looking hot.
Looking very, very hot. But first of all, Jack, it's an honor to have you on. How are you?
Fantastic. How are you doing, Cito?
I'm very good. Just got back from Turkey actually last week. And we just got out there like a few days before this horrible event happened. Earthquake, which obviously is absolutely, I can't even imagine like how the scenes are there right now. But from what I've seen on media, it's absolutely insane. And in fact, actually, there is a way also for cosmonauts now to donate. There's actually an Atom address. If you go on my Twitter and also on the Cosmoverse Twitter account, you can find.
Go tweet that out.
Also from the @Cosmos account, actually the main Cosmos account, they also tweeted it out. So you can directly donate Atom to trusted NGOs in Turkey. So we did our best to vet them and also the flow. But every support is highly, highly appreciated. But it's just horrible what's going on there. But yeah, that's one thing. And then, let's talk about let's talk a little bit about, what's been going on recently in Cosmos. Obviously, there's always drama. There's always something going on, right? But yeah, maybe we can start a little bit about the latest drama regarding the core entities in Cosmos, which actually aren't the core entities anymore, as it seems, which is Tendermint, then Ignite, then new Tendermint, new Ignite, now somehow something else, all in bits again. What's up with that? What do you know? What do you think about all this restructuring and the two core entities, Ignite and the ICF in Cosmos?
Yeah, so I think there's a number of core entities in Cosmos, and I guess the way that I think about it is like there's the founding entities, which have their own kind of set of problems, and then there's like the other core entities, which Strangelove is more a part of, Occlusion, Binary Builders. We can sort of like go through that separately, but the core entities that I would see are the company that I just always call All in Bits because that's its real name. Whether they're going by Tendermint, New Tendermint, Ignite Dev, or something else, it's just All in Bits. They have gone through another period of expansion and then contraction this year, and it sounds like they're trying to hire more devs. Most recently, Dennis has left. Dennis actually worked for Strangelove for a while this past year, working on a number of different things, and decided to go back and work on the CLI at Ignite. Was really sorry to see that Dennis ran into some issues there. I guess my overall thought on Ignite / All in Bits is that Jay has shown over and over again that he can't be trusted and that he will try to take absolute control over the projects that he's working on. And he's shown that again. He's come in and fired huge chunks of people now twice this year and 4 times over the last 2 years. So that's not a functioning institution. They don't really have the interest of the broader Cosmos in mind. And they seem a lot more focused on No-Lang and support for the No programming language, which is cool. I wish them the best luck on that. But I don't think that anyone should consider them a core Cosmos project at this point.
So how is that going to shift? Because when I joined the Cosmos community, as of my understanding, the core, like the ICF also, and also people at Tendermint. But I think mostly ICF had a team dedicated to develop Atom and to contribute. Billy was also the Cosmos Hub lead, right? So how is that changing? Like, what are the core teams working on Atom specifically?
Yeah, so as of last year, that team at the ICF was in a company called Interchain Berlin, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of the ICF. They were fired from their jobs there, and they were moved over to Interchain Berlin. Informal Systems. There are some folks like Billy who decided not to make that move, but Informal Systems does have a team that's funded by the ICF to work on the hub. As far as who are other folks working on hub-related things, Strangelove has always done work on the Cosmos Hub itself. We've been trying to figure out a way to make any money off of that, frankly. I've never really been paid for my work on the Cosmos Hub, besides when I was at All in Bits back before 2020. Yeah, I think the Cosmos Hub kind of has an existential crisis right now, frankly. There's interchain security is coming out, but I think there's a lot of governance uncertainty around that. They recently released a project update where they've decided to change some slashing mechanics in response to what it sounds like is basically Jay complaining. I think that it was honestly not the best move. It gives a lot of air to critics of the hub and gives a lot of credence to the Cosmos Hub governance is ineffective thing. I think that's like, as somebody building a project on top of interchain security, that's given us a lot of concerns about the security of interchain security and the production readiness of the software. That's something that we've been kind of dealing with internally over the last 2 days since that announcement came out. It's kind of a critical moment for the hub. One bright spot that I do see is Prop 95. The folks who are involved there are fantastic. And I think that Better Future and Bendy and all of the folks that are on that multi-sig are fantastic and are really going to work with that grant money to figure out how to drive hub adoption. But yeah, it's with the defeat of Atom 2.0, there's not really a compelling reason for developers to go work on the hub right now. And I think that the Atom community itself needs to take a hard look at itself and kind of figure out where it wants to go. Because the decentralists and those folks, they're more interested in other chains. They don't seem terribly interested in Atom itself. And they've been driving a lot of the active conversation and toxicity around Atom governance. So yeah, it will be interesting to see how Atom can kind of pull out of that. So that kind of gets us to the ICF, which is sort of another one of the core orgs. And you asked about, I'm a part of the technical advisory board there, and we've been really working hard to make sure that all of the core software for the Cosmos Hub is maintained. And not only the Cosmos Hub, but the Cosmos ecosystem. So that is Comet BFT, which is the Informal's fork of the Tendermint core protocol. That is the Cosmos SDK, which Marco and the Binary team are leading. And that's IBC, which is sort of a shared project right now between Strangelove, Interchain Berlin, and Informal Systems. Informal Systems does a lot of research, and they maintain the IBC Rust implementation, which is used by Composable and a few other teams that are like Penumbra and Anoma, which are going to be launching Tendermint chains with non-Cosmos SDK-based state machine frameworks on top of them. The Interchain Berlin team, which maintains IBC Go, and then Strangelove, which is effectively the developer outreach, tooling, and support for IBC. We also build the relayer and support a large number of teams building on top of the protocol. So yeah, I think that the TAB has done a good job of sort of ensuring that there's continuity in maintainership of those core open source repositories. And we're working closely with the board of management at the ICF to try to sort of expand that coverage and ensure that this ecosystem gets the support that it needs and has good technical guidance at the top. So there hasn't been a lot of, I think the ICF struggles with communications to the community. As a Swiss foundation, they're not really naturally set up to deal with huge online communities. That's kind of really scary for them. And I think that, hopefully throughout this year, we see better communication from them. I'm excited to see what the delegation program for Atom looks like. And I hope that we can kind of increase velocity at the ICF.
I fully agree. And in regards to communications, the ICF actually just landed a new hire, which I'm really excited about. Rob Stacks, yes, exactly. And he's been very good at like articulating and like formulating, putting into threads, putting into words, putting into tweets what's going on in Cosmos. And I think he could be a key role to improve the communications from the ICF. There's also a lot of activity in the chat already. I think maybe we can pick up some of these things later. I want to get back to Atom 2.0 that you just dropped. You were one of the co-authors. You were involved heavily in contributing to propose Atom 2.0, this new vision. It was actually, in my view, is not a big controversial idea, but it turned into one, especially after Jaquan campaigned heavily against it.
Bribed people and paid off validators.
What was eventually rejected. And I'm just trying to be neutral here, but like that's actually what happened. Anyways, it was rejected. As a consequence, a lot of people said, okay, now that Atom 2.0 failed, what's the point of the hub, right? And I could just hear from you, I didn't know that, but like also interested in security, you don't seem to be like crazy excited about it, especially not right now. So let's start with maybe first the broader scope of Atom 2.0. What's up with the team that proposed it? Is everybody kind of like now super exhausted and done for it? Or is there a way that it will be broken up into pieces? Or what's the next steps for this idea of Atom 2.0?
Yeah, there hasn't been any coordinated push to complete any of those things. Some of the members of the team have sort of gone off on their own and decided to implement individual pieces of it. I know there's at least one team working on the interchain allocator, which is cool. That's exciting. I believe the last plans I saw was that they want to launch that as its own chain. The interchain scheduler, i.e. the MEV stuff, I would imagine that idea gets picked up by either Skip or Mechatech and productionized in one of their blockchains. And then, I think most interestingly, the council idea and this idea of sort of like more effective funding from the core Cosmos Hub, that's been picked up by the Prop 95 crew. And I think that that's the piece of Atom 2.0 that kind of shows the most promise for the Cosmos Hub community. Other pieces of Atom 2.0, liquid staking, I have no idea where that sits right now. It's kind of puzzling to me that it hasn't been adopted. The Occlusion team's done a great job of building an excellent implementation. And I don't understand why that's not live yet. But I don't really think that there's a concerted effort. I can speak for me personally. I've done a lot of public goods work for very little money for the Cosmos Hub for a long time. And that basically felt like the community telling me that my services aren't appreciated and that they don't want to pay for devs. And if that's the case, it's going to be really hard for the Cosmos Hub to attract any talent to work on that platform.
What about the aspect of the Atom tokenomics? That was one part where a lot of people were very excited about, obviously, because right now tokenomics are pretty basic in the sense that, you have this inflation. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, in my mind, like the number that was proposed in the 2.0 white paper was frankly 10 times what I thought it would be in terms of minting into the community pool, and was sort of in contradiction of discussions that I had had privately about that in the past. So that was surprising. But what was sort of discouraging to me was that we didn't find a way forward where we could have minted a smaller amount of Atom into the community pool and still gone with the inflation reductions that would have come with liquid staking support. I'd still love to see those changes, but yeah, basically everyone told me I was trying to steal money. And I don't really I have no appetite to go fight that battle again in governance, and I don't know who does right now.
Yeah, it's been wild, all these discussions around it. And like, you know, we also went on chain, obviously, with Cosmos in the past. And I know not to the scale that you obviously got headwind, but we also got some headwind. And it's just, I know it's very, very frustrating. And I'm sure like to that scale that you had to go through accusations, headwind, insults even, right? Like I saw people like literally get very offensive and disrespectful.
Yeah.
So,
I had people like threatening me in DMs for weeks. Yeah, like, you better stop or else we're going to come find you, shit like that. Weeks. Anonymous accounts every day. Yeah. Like, yeah, that sucks.
That's horrible. Yeah, that doesn't just suck. That's just like unacceptable. Like that's insane. But yeah. And so I understand the discouragement. But I also see, like, as you said, right, there's like some teams that pick up some of these ideas. So I think after all, if we say, okay, I'm like, it's really bad that you all had to go through this, also Zaki and like Sam Hart, I know it's been wild. But after all, I think it was still a net positive that you guys came and proposed it to that scale, right? Because now a lot of these ideas being picked up, right? And Prop 95, even Prop 98, the community tax was raised just a couple of weeks after 2.0 failed, from 2 to 10%, which also now accrues more atoms for the treasury.
That's great.
So I do see small things, and obviously I think with the killer application ICS, at least that's how I see it, coming up very shortly. Whether it's 2 weeks or 8 weeks, to me, like, doesn't really matter, but it's gonna come soon. What do you think about that? You just expressed some technical or implementation concerns. Like, can you elaborate on that? And when do you realistically see that ICS is going to go live?
Yeah, we'll see. That's entirely up to the informal team who's leading that product. As far as the technical concerns, like, removing slashing from the consumer chains is one way to deal with a problem that I had with the architecture. There's a lot of kind of complex trade-offs there. Does that actually reduce the security of interchain security? Sort of is a debatable topic. But I think that changing a major aspect of the protocol this close to launch leaves a lot of doubts in people's minds and makes a lot of people sort of doubt the production readiness. I know that the audits have been completed. It seems like the timeline is good, but I've been saying that now for a while and it's already slipped 2 months. So we'll just see when it gets shipped. I'm excited to see that go live.
And then what are your thoughts about Neutron? We also saw the recent announcement of Noble.
Love Neutron.
Sorry?
Love Neutron.
Love Neutron, okay. Talk to us a little bit about all these consumer chains. Maybe introduce them like briefly, what your thoughts are, and also your involvement at Noble.
Yeah, so Neutron is a permission CosmWasm chain, particularly for liquid staking deployments from the P2P. They're excellent. The projects that they're getting to launch on that chain, I think they've already found a large number of people. They run an extremely tight ship. They ship very quickly, and it's a very, very sharp team. I'm extremely excited to have Neutron on the hub. It's one of the things that I'm most excited about when it comes to interchain security. Having them more dedicated to building directly on the Cosmos hub is just net positive for the ecosystem. Vasily and that whole crew were Cosmos Hub validators at Genesis and were highly placed in Game of Stakes and in Game of Zones, and then went on to build Lido, which is the world's largest liquid staking protocol on top of Ethereum. They're sort of turning their energies towards Cosmos now, and It's incredibly bullish. Very excited for Neutron and what gets built on top of that. The Duality is another consumer chain, and they're building a next generation AMM design, which is really cool. We've worked closely with that team, built out their swap and forward IBC capability. That's going to help do DEX aggregation within Cosmos eventually. There's a few more implementations there, but it's a very, very exciting project as well. Noble, which Strangelove is building, is the USDC consumer chain for the Cosmos Hub. We're extremely excited about that. We're planning on other real-world asset issuers, other stable coins for sure, and potentially other real-world assets in the future. That's a project that I've been working on for a really long time. I know you guys announced this at Cosmoverse, but there weren't a lot of details in the announcement. I think that more details have kind of come out. We're really excited about Noble and think it's going to be a huge catalyst for liquidity formation within Cosmos, as this is a very high bandwidth way to move from other chains into Cosmos. It's a critical missing piece for the ecosystem. And I think that the reason it's been sort of downplayed and hasn't happened as quickly as it has in other ecosystems is because we don't have a central organization for USDC to go talk to. They couldn't go talk to AIB. They couldn't really go talk to the ICF. And, it's been a combination of me and Zaki and Yelena who have kind of picked that project up and carried it forward. It's been really exciting. We're really stoked to see that live.
Yeah, likewise. I think that's a missing piece in the Cosmos puzzle. But and also all the other applications that you mentioned, Stride and Neutron and Duality. I actually have to do my homework on them, but sounds interesting.
You should have Ron and Eli on your show. They're great.
Yeah, maybe you can connect me. Would be nice.
Yeah, happy to. Yeah.
But before we talk about Sommelier, I have to ask you, after all this, what you talk now, are you still bullish on Atom, or are you now a bear?
Yeah, I'm definitely bullish on Atom. I think that Cosmos as an ecosystem still has the best path towards like winning this blockchain adoption war. We're still at the very early stages. I know it's really easy to say we're still early, but in the middle of a bear market, we definitely are early. And if you look at global crypto adoption numbers and like how much of that is just on top of centralized exchanges, the on-chain economies that we take part in Cosmos, it is still very early for those things. So we have the only realistically scalable architecture with IBC and the app chain thesis. There's a lot of interest coming into the ecosystem. And as the largest token and the sort of originator of this idea, the Cosmos Hub still has an incredible chance to capture a large chunk of that value and to be a very, very valuable chain moving forward. The reason why I share my concerns publicly is so that people understand sort of what my view is on the things that we need to improve on and how we can do better as a community. And I think that, this is because no one's in charge, this is how it has to work. We have to, as a community, talk about the things that are hard and talk about the things that aren't going great in order to fix them. And that's, I think, in the long term, going to be a strength of the hub rather than a weakness. Yeah,
and what's interesting, like I did my research recently more on Avalanche and also on Cardano, because Cardano is actually launching a Cosmos sidechain. I don't know if you knew that.
I did. I saw that. I heard Charles Hoskinson is going to come be our CEO.
It's like he's going to
come save us.
He's going to claw back the CEO spot at Cosmos. Actually, I have a video. It's currently in editing, but I think it's coming back today, going live in the next days, where I introduced that chain. And when I was doing my research on these chains, I noticed like neither Cardano nor Avalanche actually have on-chain governance. They don't have an on-chain governance framework at all. And they also don't have really shared security, right? So I think when it comes to that, like you can say, okay, Atom doesn't have very sexy tokenomics. It doesn't have a cool killer application that's so obvious, but just the fact that it's sufficiently decentralized, I guess. It has a very active and passionate community, as we could tell from the 2.0 discussions, very lively. It has funded a lot of other chains in Cosmos, evmos, for example. It bootstrapped communities like Osmosis and Juno. And now I think with ICS coming, hopefully launching with a bang, and Neutron, we talked about it, there's a lot of quality chains in the works. I think it's quite competitive. Like Atom, as one sovereign L1 in Cosmos, is very competitive to the likes of Polkadot in that sense. Because besides Polkadot, there's not really a shared security narrative kind of like L1 out there. So yeah, but good to hear that you're bullish. McGregor is also excited to hear that. I'm obviously also very bullish on Atom. But obviously, holding Atom, if you want to have exposure to Cosmos, holding Atom is not enough, right? You need to have more exposure. So let's talk about probably one of the least talked about chains that you've been working on for quite some time, that you actually also the co-founder of, Sommelier. So what is Sommelier and why is it mooning?
Yeah, so Sommelier is a decentralized vault management platform. So, it is a crossover between Ethereum and Cosmos in a way that many projects are not. Even evmos, I think, didn't really figure this crossover thing out very well. Canto definitely has lately, and I think that we're more in that mold. But what we've been trying to do, the core problem we've been trying to solve is over on Ethereum with a smart contract, there's a set of owners that is a multi-sig. There's a lot of like legal and regulatory risk with that. And there's also a lot of like practical custody risk with that. So when you're going to use these vault products where they're wrapping a few different DeFi protocols and offering an easy way to invest in complex financial instruments for average users, you're taking on a lot of security assumptions that you're really not sure about. So when we were developing SOMM, what we thought is, well, instead of a multi-sig, how about we have a Cosmos validator set? And we use that validator set to manage the security for these smart contracts over on Ethereum. That tech is really hard to build, so we built it out. We worked on the Gravity Bridge for a really long time, and we've been maintaining our own fork of that for a while, specifically for doing these cross-chain smart contract interactions. And we've really started to get a lot of traction with one of our newest vault products. I think we've now got around a dozen of them at this point. So we launched our first one a while back. The most recent one is called Real Yield USD, and it wraps a bunch of different stablecoin DeFi products on things like Aave and Maker, and provides a low but consistent yield of around 7 to 8% right now. You can go to app.sommelier.finance and participate in that today. And I think the reason why we've been getting traction is because people are excited about that Real Yield USD product. The tokenomics for SOMM, basically, as the TVL of the protocol increases, the amount of fees that go back to SOMM stakers increase. There's no inflation on the chain, so the token isn't inflationary, which honestly has benefits, especially in a bear market. And it's the rewards are tied to like real performance of the products on top of it. So as the performance there is picking up, people are becoming more excited about the platform.
Yeah, but you just mentioned inflation. The total supply of SOMM is 500 million coins. I think only, I don't know, 50 or 60 million are currently circulating. But there will be staking rewards coming very soon, right? As of my understanding.
Yeah. As the Real Yield USD product starts giving returns, because the way that we do it is the SOMM token distribution takes a management fee from these vaults. So as that starts generating yields and like more and more TVL goes in that, more assets go back to the SOMM stakers.
Is that management fee like set by default, or how is that?
Yeah, when we have new strategies over on Ethereum, there's a governance proposal over on the Sommelier chain to accept those strategies and to start the active management of those strategies. And the management fee is set at that point.
Okay. Can you maybe explain like more in detail what type of strategies we're talking about, right? Because from my understanding, Sommelier taps into the biggest DeFi protocols in Ethereum, right? Aave, Compound, and Uniswap. So how exactly does it work? And what type of like strategies? What do you mean by that? Like, does it mean that you have a wallet where coins get lent out, or how does that work?
Yeah, there's a vault where the coins get lent out. So you would deposit into it in USDC or Ethereum, and we take that USDC and Ethereum and go deposit it into, like, we go lend it out on Aave. I'm just on app.somm.finance and looking to make sure that I'm right on this. So the real yield USD wraps borrowing and lending on Aave and Compound, as well as on Uniswap v3. And we sort of move between those based on where the best yields are.
And the average yield, I'm also just on the side right now, says real yield 36.5% rewards APY.
Yeah, so the 7.3% APY since inception, that is the just like base reward. That's like how much the strategy is earning. And then we do some liquidity mining. So if you contribute into the vault and keep your tokens there for a little while, we'll give you some SOMM on top of that. And that that boosted yield shows the liquidity mined APY on top of it.
Okay. But right now, the primary goal, and I guess the Ethereum compatibility is enabled through the Gravity Bridge implementation, right? Or like an adjusted version of it for Sommelier. What about, let's say, Mars injective, Cosmos native DeFi protocols?
Yeah.
Gain traction. Is that also something where Sommelier could just deploy?
Yeah, Strangelove has built out all of the infrastructure to do this type of interoperability via IBC. So when the DeFi market on Cosmos starts getting larger and larger, like we will definitely be deploying strategies on Osmosis and DYDX and Say protocol. Nice.
Interesting. Yeah, because I also had a conversation yesterday with the founder of Quasar or Quasar.
Valentine's my boy. I really love hanging with Valentine.
And they're also launching quite soon.
Yeah.
How does Quasar compare to Sommelier in that sense?
Yeah, it's kind of a similar type of idea, and they're just going after a slightly different market with different strategies. If you look in the traditional investment management world, people don't really view these things as competitive. They're just different funds. And I think that that's a really good way to look at SOMM. SOMM is one set of people who have one set of views on the market, and they're launching one set of strategies. And there's a limited bandwidth there. And then on the Quasar side, like they're one set of people with one set of views who's launching one set of strategies somewhere else. Strangelove works very closely with Quasar. We've co-built the interchain queries IBC application protocol with them. We've been working really hard to develop the tooling to enable them to build complex IBC application protocols to manage these vaults. They're partnered with Osmosis. I've been talking to Valentine and their team for about 9 months now. I really like them a lot.
Yeah, they seem to be very, very committed and very passionate about what they're building. But just to recap, so Sommelier launched the vaults and the real yield vault. I just checked the numbers, has a TVL, or it's called TVM. Total value managed by strategy of over $7 million.
7?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It was 3 million yesterday. That's great news.
Yeah. Well, it's at least according to the website, it's 7.
Yeah. Well, the website's right. So Strangelove actually builds that website. We build and maintain the Sommelier front end.
Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can, I guess, play around with it. Obviously not something, especially if you're new to crypto, Cosmos, DeFi, whatever. I think that's a very, very deep crypto already. So for the newbies, maybe do your homework on that before. But yeah, very fun. But just also to like capture that. So the yield that stakers and also validators will earn on Sommelier, on the Sommelier chain, comes from the management fee through these strategies, right?
Exactly.
Zero
Yep.
emission.
Yep.
That's cool.
I think so. You know, during the bull market, this was a really hard sell. If people weren't as excited about it. But, you know, Zucky and I have always had the view that unless there's actual utility for these things, we can't keep playing these endless rehypothecation and speculation games.
Yeah.
And if there's all of these DeFi protocols out there that are being used, packaging that up and offering that in an actually decentralized way to end users and taking a small management fee on top of that as a token holder set, like, that's a pretty obvious business model. And I think one that has a chance of being massive. And this is why we built Sommelier and like why I think it's starting to see success now.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, very excited about that. Obviously, we've been covering Sommelier here basically since almost a year and a half or something. I remember like even way before there was even a proper team around it. So we've been tracking this project here on Cryptocito since the very beginning, even before it was like even in stealth mode, you know, somewhere out there. So that's why you guys should all be subscribed, because this is the AlphaCito factory here.
Click and subscribe. Click and subscribe. Let's go.
Somewhere here, I don't know, click somewhere. But yeah, I have to get better at this game. But actually, my subscribers, that's also a good indicator that especially probably like Cosmos as an ecosystem is in a bull run, because my subscribers in the past 6 to 8 weeks have been going through the roof. And I don't know, I mean, I ramped up my setup. I don't know if you noticed, my camera is quite good now. I have an editing team now. So definitely my quality ramped up, but I also feel like the general interest in Cosmos is just skyrocketing right now, right? This upchain thesis is gaining steam. The Cosmos Hub with ICS, that's a big narrative. DYDX moving over, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that, you know, I've definitely seen this as well. While the markets have been crashing over the last 6 months, like the amount of inbound and work that we've had at Strangelove has just like gone up, which has been kind of a weird disconnect emotionally. But yeah, great for Cosmos. Really excited about it.
Yeah, and also the demand for interviews here is at an absolute all-time high. Also from projects outside of Cosmos that want to learn about Cosmos, which is cool. And even VCs are hitting me up. I'm sure like they're hitting you up like times 10, but they're writing, you know, they're writing pitch decks to send to their investors, explaining what Cosmos is, and sometimes mixing up Atom with Cosmos, but whatever.
Well, that's how it goes. Yeah.
But yeah, good times. I also saw you just responded to that question regarding capped supply and Cosmos coins. There's like so many coins. Sommelier is obviously one of them that has a capped supply. Osmo has a capped supply.
Yes.
Which else? Which project? Juno doesn't have a. Oh no, Juno also, right?
Juno does have a capped supply. Yeah.
Has a capped supply. Stargaze? Does Stargaze have a capped supply? Yes, 4 billion.
I believe so. Yeah.
Stargaze has a capped supply. Agoric, no, Agoric doesn't. But yeah, there's a long list of Cosmos projects that have a capped supply. But yeah, it's going to be interesting how that plays out. Anything else that we should touch on about Sommelier, or should we move on?
Yeah, I mean, keep watching that space.
Ooh.
That team, it's taken a long time for us to kind of like work through a lot of the technical challenges of doing this on Ethereum, work through a lot of the cultural challenges of figuring out how to like, frankly, build a community over in Ethereum land, because we've been a Cosmos focused team for a really long time. And to get this pipeline of new sellers and to have an easy way to integrate them. But now that we've got it and it's starting to work, it's a really, really exciting time for that project. Bring that question back up, because I do want to hit on that one too. Sommelier raised 23 million from Alameda Research and others. Has their collapse impacted the chain? It has not. We didn't really work very closely with them. They weren't a huge check in the round. And if you'll go check on it, Galaxy Digital and a bunch of others were part of that raise too. That has not impacted the chain at all.
How big is the Sommelier team right now?
I think we're 15 to 20 folks right now. You know, like
Nice.
if you include me on there, like how many of the Strangelove folks would you include as on the Sommelier team? We've got 3 front-end devs who work basically full-time on some of the website stuff. So yeah, it's, you know, Sommelier is very decentralized. There's the 7 Cs, which is doing some of the strategy work. Peggy JV is the management company, and you know, there's people from each of those organizations that I would consider part of the SOMM core team. So it's like kind of hard to count directly, but 15 to 20 is kind of the number right now.
Nice. There's also a question regarding the rewards. We talked about it. Is there any, when is that going live? When can we get staking rewards for SOMM?
I haven't checked the latest timelines, but I'm sure that we'll tweet it out at some point.
Okay. But is it like this month, or is it like sometime this year? Short term, or rather?
Let me ask in the, hey, when
getting the latest alpha in real time, guys. In real time, we're getting the alpha here. So there we go. IC55 is saying, I'm staking at Strangelove to my, I guess, Atoms and Osmo.
Frank says next week. Next week.
Oh,
you heard it here.
That's nice. That's alpha, guys. Next week.
That's really exciting. Great. Thank you, Frank. What was that other question? Somebody stakes with Strangelove?
Yeah. Atom.
Thank you.
There we go.
We're gonna keep it secret, keep it safe. We got a Horcrux, 2 Horcrux clusters securing your Atoms and Osmo. We will be sure that they stay online and earning rewards. We got you here at Strangelove.
Very nice. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Strangelove actually, and then also some questions. Also, everybody, just drop your questions in the chat. We'll pick it up later. Strangelove, you guys grew incredibly throughout the bear, which is very rare in crypto. So yeah, what's up? What are your current focus on? What are you building? What are you doing? What keeps you busy?
Yeah, so you know, I guess like if we think about Strangelove, like it used to be called Pylon Validation for a little while, and I think you might remember that. It started when I started working in Cosmos. Well, actually, when we launched the Cosmos Hub. We initially started as just doing validation, and then we moved into doing some venture investments, and a few of those did okay. So we ended up taking some of that money off the table and building out a developer team. And we're sort of following a diversified revenue strategy where we've got a number of revenue streams. A huge chunk of our money comes from validation, and that's sort of been our bread and butter for a while. We do continue to receive some revenues and money from the VC investments that we've made, and we sort of advise a number of companies that are sort of up and coming in Cosmos. That's another revenue stream. Those are kind of bull market revenue streams. During the bear market, they don't pay off as well. So for the bear market, we do get a big chunk of money from the ICF, some support from the Osmosis Foundation. We used to get support from the Juno Core 1 DAO, but we don't anymore. And we sort of like get funding for the core software dev that we do. That definitely helps keep folks employed, and it's allowed us to kind of continue to grow into the bear. And then the other revenue stream we have is we sell software as a service for running Cosmos nodes, running relayers as a service, and other sort of things like that. And you know, I think that I mentioned earlier, we're building out Noble. We work with a lot of larger organizations that are interested in Cosmos and work to sort of bring them into the ecosystem and help provide them the support that they need to do that. So if you're familiar with traditional open source monetization models, this is kind of a traditional open source monetization model. This is nothing crazy. This is nothing that hasn't been done before. It's an old business model in a new space. And, I think that people talk a lot about startups needing to be laser focused. And I think that you can look at the Strangelove portfolio of businesses and say, you guys aren't focused at all, but we really are. We're focused directly on Cosmos and on IBC. And we're focused on this new space. We have an old business model, one that's been employed by Red Hat, Elasticsearch, countless other open source companies in the Web 2 world. And we're trying to deploy that business model in a new market.
There's so many things we can talk about. Also, like just thinking about IBC itself, right? And like,
yeah,
outside of, I know you also have been working with Composable to bring IBC basically to the SAMA world and to near. But in that context, and that's also like a topic, I know Jacob Gedikian has been very vocal about it. What are your thoughts on like this white labeling of validators? I know Jacob, has been very against it. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't see a huge issue with white label validation. That's a product line for us as well. Jacob has also offered white label validation in the past. I think as long as you're transparent about it and the security practices are up to snuff, there shouldn't be any issue with that. I'm sure that there's going to be an army of people telling me I'm the Antichrist now, but that's kind of how I feel about it.
Nice. No,
I mean,
I think, go ahead.
Do stake Adam with Strangelove, but I think that what we do is we build Horcrux, which is one of the key pieces of validation software. We have a deep understanding of how validation works, and we have years and years of operational experience training up a lot of the validators you guys know and love. Like Jacob and I met back in 2017 when I was working at Blockstack. And I've always kind of kept in touch with him since then. And in 2020, when he decided to get into Cosmos, I helped teach him IBC, helped him learn validation, and helped him spin up. And I've done that with countless other validators. I was running the test nets before the Cosmos Hub was live. And the first one I ran, we had 15 people in it, and most of them were with the project. So I've helped onboard, and like, that was really the first real validator set in crypto. So like, I've helped onboard a bunch of those people. So, I think that, like, back to that white labeling conversation, like, would you feel comfortable with Strangelove operating white label validators? Like, we've helped most of your favorite validators like get up and running, and we built this really best-in-class validation software in Horcrux. And we've got the best security, some of the best security practices in the industry. So that helps secure the chain. And like, we don't control the funds keys. So I don't really see any problem with it. And I think that the increase in sort of competency in the set of these white label validation services will help increase the number of Cosmos chains and bring more economic activity to IBC, because you can get other traditional actors like banks and healthcare service providers and all of these other people who don't want to have to figure out how to learn how to do this. They can pay competent operators. I think the big issue with white labels is there are some operators that are not competent and are not secure. And that's where the problem comes in. And this is like why we as a community need to police that.
X1K still remembers when I actually remember those times where it was just called Jack Zampolin. I'm like, who's that guy? I gotta talk to him.
Yes.
Yeah, the old times.
Looking at how much money a lot of these larger validators are making, which makes me wish I had just quit what I was doing and only focused on that. I would be a lot richer now.
But let's talk about which is one of the core things that you guys have been contributing since the very beginning, IBC infrastructure, right? Horcrux also, you build some tools there for validators also. Can you talk a little bit about the current state of IBC infrastructure and what you probably even wish that validators would do more, contribute more, if there's anything to name here?
Yeah. I think that, we talked a little bit about sort of how we're at a bit of a crossroads as a Cosmos Hub community and what we need to do better. And I think we're kind of in a similar crossroads in IBC right now. We need to decide where we want to take this protocol. During the last bull market, we were far and away the #1 interoperability protocol. Right now, we're sort of like 1, 2, 3, depending on the day, in competition with, basically in terms of like value moved numbers, with like large centralized bridges, essentially. With the coming of Axelar and Wormhole Chain into Cosmos and in a number of other protocols, IBC needs to take a step up in order to continue to retain its leading position within the interoperability space. The roadmap at Strangelove, and what we're working hardest on, is sort of a two-pronged approach at dealing with this problem. One is ecosystem expansion. We need to expand the IBC transport layer to more ecosystems besides just Cosmos. Polkadot will be the first one, Near will be the second one, but the roll-up ecosystems are a key area of focus for us this year. We need Celestia to be IBC compatible, and we need those Celestia rollups that are coming in to be like a part of this ecosystem. That's where the future growth is going to come from. So growth comes from two ways. One, expanding the circle, and then like, you know, also growing more Cosmos chains. So like this idea of ecosystem expansion and the technical work needed to do that is a huge area of focus for Strangelove this year, and it's where we've invested a lot of our engineering time and our money as well. The other area is an expanded feature set, and that is Async IBC and Async Composability. And this is the ability to do stuff like vaults. Like, frankly, we talked about vaults earlier. Like, vaults are technically possible, but very hard on IBC right now. You know, there's a lot of work to get that done. We spent a lot of the last year working with the Quasar team to build the tooling, including, and Polymer as well, to build the tooling, including IBC queries, and the testing frameworks to enable people to test these complex multi-chain applications, to make us have the same type of composability that comes out of the box with Ethereum and all of these EVM chains. And, you know, things like the packet forward middleware, which has been deployed for a while and it hasn't seen a lot of usage, and it's going to start seeing a lot more usage now because of a number of reasons, as well as other middlewares like Swap and Forward, in building these more seamless user experiences for end users. Like, these are the things that we need to do to take IBC to the next level. So expanding the number of people and chains using IBC is one thrust, and then the other thrust is expanding the feature set of IBC to make it really this full-featured application and developer platform to build on top of. And I think that's really what Strangelove is all about. Like, we are trying to push forward IBC and ensure that IBC is the world-leading interoperability protocol and wins that battle. And, you know, I've talked a lot about how you can use open source defensively. And like, I think IBC is the biggest example of that. All of these other axelars and wormholes and large bridge protocols that are centralized, they're looking to extract value out of these flows between chains. And what IBC is saying is that should be free. It should be very easy to do, and the fees should be extremely low as possible. And to ensure that, we're going to open source this software, and we're going to make it as cheap to use as possible. And when you have large, extremely well-funded competitors, that's realistically the only way that you can compete with them. And then what we're going to do is we're going to build functionality on top of this free layer that we've built in order to, I'm going to need to run here. I really wish I had some more time. Maybe we do this again next week or in 2 weeks. But we build monetization on top of that layer, and we build monetization into the applications, not into these bridges. So what's the utility of an axelar and a wormhole? It's connecting things that aren't connected to IBC yet and helping in more bespoke forms of application composability. But, you know, we'll see how it goes. Jack, do you see using Cosmos Hub to run IBC transactions through? Will bring value to the hub, and will it have any resistance? That's sort of up in the air and relates to that Polymer question. Maybe, Cito, we come back on and talk IBC in a lot more detail next time. I think that would probably be a really good use of time. I do have to run right now.
No problem. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks everybody in the chat. We'll do this again soon. Cheers.
Yeah. Thank you guys.